Hello and welcome to phuketpals GED Express Screencast. With me, Teacher Marky. Today's lesson focuses on characteristics of life, and this is still under GED Science, under Biology. Now, on the previous topic or on my previous screencast, we talked about the cell theory, and right now we're going to talk how different are living things compared to non-living things. Now, at the end of the discussion, every one of you is expected to recognize, discuss, determine, and distinguish the different characteristics of life. And we begin with the first characteristics. All living things are made up of cells, like what I used to tell on my previous discussion. Cells is the building unit of life. Now, cell is defined as the smallest unit capable of all life functions, and we can categorize these organisms as unicellular organism or multicellular organism. But first, let's define unicellular organism. When we say unicellular, that means there are only one cell all throughout their body. And primarily the organism which only have one cell on their body or on their structure are bacteria and protists. Now next we have multicellular organism. Now, multicellular organisms, these are plants and animals. That means they have two or more cells or they have union of cells working together. And these cells have specialized functions within that specific organism. Now, that is true among plants and animals. Now, we have another characteristics of living things. All living things reproduce. That means they can have an ability of producing new organism of the same type. That is through sexual or asexual reproduction. But let's first define asexual reproduction. That means a single parent organism reproducing by itself. For example, this bacteria, it can reproduce on its own without interacting with other bacteria. Now next we have sexual reproduction, which is primarily majority of animal species way of reproducing their own copy or their own way of reproducing their offspring. So we define that as two different parent organisms which contribute genetic information, and this involves the combination of male and female sex cells. So there is a sharing of gametes from the parent cell, which is the male gametes, a sperm cell, and a female gamete, an egg cell. Now, next we have another characteristic. All living things obtain and use energy. That means in order for them to perform work, they need to consume energy. So they need to eat something which also releases energy. Now, living organisms need energy to grow, develop, repair damage, and reproduce. So there is a consumption of other living things in order for that specific living thing to live. Now we have here under feeding, we have anabolism. Anabolism is the process of building up complex substances from simpler substances. So if you try to build a simple substance in making it into a complex substance, that is anabolism. And the opposite of anabolism is catabolism, which I will discuss on the next slide. Now, the most common example of anabolism is that it builds up cells and cellular components. One common example is photosynthesis. Now next we have here catabolism. Catabolism is defined as the process of breaking down complex substances into simpler substances to release energy. Now, example of that would be digestion and cellular respiration, which are two essential processes on a specific species. Now, we have the combination of anabolism and catabolism that is known as metabolism. So these are a series of chemical reactions in an organism which produces energy. Now, next characteristic would be all organisms maintain homeostasis. That means there is an internal balance that an organism can react to a specific stimuli. Now, it could be because of body temperature, blood volume, pH balance, water balance, like those kinds. And these stable state of conditions in the body are necessary for life functions. Now next we have here another characteristics. All organisms pass along hereditary traits. That means the trait of the parents are being passed from one generation to the next, and that is because of the hereditary material, which is the genes has the deoxyribonucleic acid or the DNA, the genetic material necessary for the passing of traits from one generation to another. And this is the reason why children resemble their parents. For example, this one on the photo. So there is a resemblance from the grandmother to the kids, or to the mother to their daughter or son. Now, mutations can also happen during the passing of hereditary traits, which can be done from one generation to another. Now, next characteristic is all living things respond to their environment, so they react with stimuli such as light, temperature, odor, sound, gravity, heat, water, and pressure. For example, we have here this organism which leaves and stem is growing towards the light. That means it reacts or it responds to the stimuli, which is light. Now next we have here another characteristic. All living things grow. That means there is a gradual change in size. It becomes bigger. So that is the meaning of growth. For example, this elephant, you have there the baby elephant and the mother elephant. In that case, this baby elephant can grow and become as big as its mom. So we have here another characteristic. All living things develop, which means a change in the physical form or physiological makeup of an organism. For example, if you know a caterpillar, if a caterpillar undergo metamorphosis, there is a specific change on the physiological features of that organism when it turned out to become a butterfly. Now, next would be adaptation. All living things adapt to their environment through evolution. So, when we say adaptation, that would be the process that enables organisms to become better suited to their environment. So, if there is a change on the setup of an environment of an organism, there is a necessity for that organism to adapt and change its features so that they can live on that specific area. Now, species obtain adaptations through evolution over a great period of time. So it needs a specific time frame. For example, we have here this one, the time frame for the adaptation that has done by reptiles long time ago in order for it to evolve and become dinosaurs. Now, an example of adaptation would be these succulents or cactuses. So, desert plants have succulent wax leaves and stems to store water and reduce water loss. So, that is their one way of adapting to their hot environment so that they will not be dehydrated. Now, since you already know the different characteristics of living things, let's try this. You just need to answer the questions from each slide. And we have the first question, a true or false question. All matter can be considered living or non-living. Is it true or false? The answer is, you're right. The answer is true. How about the next question? Living things rely on other living things to stay alive. Is the statement true or false? Good job. The answer is false because basically the statement is quite off if you're going to analyze plants which relies on sunlight. Sun is considered as non-living things, and that means it doesn't support the statement on this question. So the answer would be false. Next, we have adding and multiplying means the same as reproduction. Is it true or false? Exactly. The answer is true. When there is reproduction, there is adding and multiplication of offspring. Now, next, John noticed that a certain object can move but it cannot feed. Therefore, the object is living. Is it true or false? The answer is false. Based from the discussion, a living thing needs to obtain energy. That's why it needs to feed on something which also releases energy. So that makes the statement false. Now, we have a multiple question that is multiple choice. The following is our characteristic of living things. Is it A, feeding, movement, evaporation, B, feeding, respiration, movement, or C, respiration, movement, and evaporation? The answer would be letter B. Feeding, respiration, and movements are some of the characteristics of living things. Now, next, another word for living things is A, organ, B, organism, C, organelle. This is very easy. Precisely, the answer is organism. How about this question? If observed under a microscope, it will be noticed that A, both living and non-living things are made up of cells. B, only non-living things are made up of cells. C, only living things are made up of cells. Quite confusing, but what is the answer? Yep, you're right. It's letter C. Only living things are made up of cells. Non-living things, they don't have cell, but they can be composed of matter. And we have here this question. There are blank types of living things. So how many types of living things do we have if we're going to base our answer on the number of cells that an organism has? Is it A2, B3, C4? Answer is 2. You're right. We can categorize it as unicellular or multicellular organism. Good job for today because you were able to answer the assessment correctly. And congratulations for trying hard. Now, that would be all but for our lesson summary for today. You need to consider that a life form should have the following: cellular organization, reproduction, metabolism, that means it obtains and uses energy, homeostasis, heredity, responsiveness, growth and development, and adapt through evolution. If a specific organism were able to meet those following criteria, that means it has life. Now, that will be all for today. And again, for our references, you can read in advance using this text from Reading Essentials For biology, Glencoe 2017 and Glencoe Biology Macro Hill Education. Now, since you are already here, you might as well like and subscribe to our channel, or you can connect with us at www.phuketpals.org. Visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/phuketpals, or if you have questions or inquiries regarding our organization, you can contact us directly through line or at 081-417-0978. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you find this video interesting. See you on my next screencast. Have a great day. Bye everyone.